off limits. I mean, Coach Day is one of the realest human beings I've ever been around. And as great as a football coach as he is, I mean, he's really just an unbelievable human being and outstanding mentor for our guys. So I don't think anything is off topic. I don't think anything is not able to be discussed. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we talk about any sort of current event.
Matt, when you guys are pondering options at punt returner, how do you balance reliability? I know this guy's going to catch the ball every time, and maybe against other guys who have a little more juice, maybe has a better chance to break something. What's that like?
That's a great question. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you've got to have a reliable, accountable guy back there. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you possess the ball at the end of every punt, because we understand how important the battle of field position is and the turnover battle, and make sure we win that. So I think the deal is, you have your guys you feel really good about, but you have a pool of guys that you work consistently. And then you just have to make some decisions, and you try to put the younger guys that don't have as many reps. You try to put them in a position where they've got to catch punts with live bullets coming at them, and some game-like situations. You got to try to simulate that. Yeah.
Is there anything when you have a guy like KJ who is so important to the offense, obviously? How does that influence whether you think he maybe should be the primary punt returner or not? Is there any reluctance to put one of your most important offensive players as your primary punt returner or no?
Well, KJ's outstanding. We know what we're going to get there. But we're a program that believes in playing our best players on special teams. So I think we've got like I said, a pool of guys that we feel good about, hoping to continue to develop some younger guys. But again, I think you got to pick your battles there. Do you be smart about when you use certain guys, and can you use the same guy every time? Maybe not. And again, I think that's why you try to build depth there.
How much continuity is there? Special teams was kind of Urban's baby, so now with him out, how much continuity is there versus how much have you sort of made it your own?
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So things have been done really, really well here. I would say at an elite level. And really, that's what we're trying to do is. Sort of a slogan for this camp is let's make the best better. We've used the analogy of the New England Patriots or LeBron James, Tiger Woods, some of the best to do it in whatever their respective sports are. And if you win one Super Bowl, what's your approach to the next? Is that it? I mean, are we elite? Here we are. We've arrived, and then what's your approach from there? That's kind of our mentality. We've been excellent here, but we want to reach a new level if we can. And obviously the bar's been set very high, and we just want to continue to try to push forward.
And you look at there is room to. Obviously, the coverage teams have been pretty good that a couple years ago, not so much, but there hasn't been a lot of explosiveness in the return game. Is that you look at that as a place that there's real opportunity to improve things? Yeah,
I think obviously we want to be explosive on return units when we can, for sure. I know there hasn't been a lack of points being scored around here, so that's for sure.
I've always wondered about that, right? That if you guys catch the punt and get the possession, you have a good offense.
We do.
Like, you probably feel good about your chance to score. How does that influence your decision on punt return? Because maybe there are some teams out there who just realistically don't have quite as much confidence in their offense, and they think, man, we might have to be a little more boom or bust on this return. We'll take a shot because we need somebody to bust something because we can't score 50 points a game with our offense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, how does
absolutely.
that factor into the thinking?
Well, it's game to game, game by game, and situationally within the game. You got to see how the flow of the game is going, and maybe you want to call for a block and try to go get one. Maybe you want to set a return. Maybe it's a time to just say, hey, let's just make sure we get possession here. If you got a team that's backed up, if you can just field the ball, you get the ball in the plus 40, you got a chance to get down and score. So it's situational. But having said that, we want to be aggressive. So when we get our chances, we want to make sure we have a good scheme. We're going to be techniqued up, and I know our guys are going to play really hard. So we have a lot of confidence in our ability to maintain possession and also give ourselves a chance to increase field position.
So this is how I've thought about it. I like to throw questions out so you can tell me how wrong I am. So, all those of us who have covered this team for a long time, it's I think we've been for 15 years looking for the next Ted Ginn Jr., right? The guy who just every time the punt goes back to that guy, you hold your breath because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
And sometimes I thought, this place is filled with 4-3 guys all over this roster. We know how fast these guys are. And as Marcus said, sometimes, right, it's not been quite as explosive as maybe you would think when you think of all the great talent and fast dudes at Ohio State. If I think, hey, you have a bunch of fast guys, you guys should be busting punt returns for touchdowns all the time. Yeah. Tell me why that thinking is, you might be onto something there, or why you're totally thinking about it wrong.
Well, despite what it might look like on TV, they're harder to come by than you might think. I wouldn't say the average punt return is explosive, or certainly not for a return touchdown. And again, I'll say it again, there has been no lack of points being scored here. Right. So I will say that. So, I think you got to find that happy medium of playing the field position battle and picking your fights. You just have to play situational football and be really smart about how you approach it.
And if you guys field a punt, you fair catch it, or you just have a return that doesn't get many yards, but you get possession, and then the offense scores a touchdown, the special teams did its job in that situation.
If we maintain possession of the ball, absolutely. That's a great place to start. But again, where we can be explosive, we want to be explosive. Absolutely.
Can you maybe just run? We saw that when practice started the other day. That was like the only thing we got to see. But some of the names that were out there catching some of the punts. Are there any of the candidates you could just sort of talk about?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I'm sure I will leave somebody out here. But you mentioned KJ Hill, CJ Saunders is outstanding. Some younger guys, Jalen Gill's done a great job for us there, works his butt off catching those punts and getting ready. Garrett Wilson's another young guy. So there's a myriad of guys that we feel really good about. And again, I'm sure I left somebody out somewhere. So just trying to continue to develop, the right guy at that spot.
How's Garrett Wilson been returning punts?
Outstanding. Yeah, really good. He's smooth. He's got unbelievable ball skills. He's got confidence that far exceeds his years. So expect good things from him.
Do you feel okay putting a true freshman back there?
If the guy's ready to go, I don't care. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Matt, you said in the spring that gunner was the gunner position, not gunner, was pretty wide open. Has that been narrowed down at all? It looked like we saw Chris Olave out there with the ones we saw punt. Does he have a spot in that role? Who's working?
Well, we're sure hoping because he can really run. But it's an open competition, and that's something that's been reinforced by Coach Day is how important that position is. I mean, talk about outstanding gunner play. I mean, we epitomized it last year with Terry McLaurin and those guys doing an outstanding job. So is that depth chart fixed right now at gunner? No, absolutely not. But at practice 3, and I'm not sure whose depth chart is fixed right now. So we're still working our way through that. It's a great challenge for our guys and an opportunity for somebody to emerge. But you mentioned Chris Olave. I'd sure love it to be him because he can really run.
Is that just straight line speed you're looking for there? What else goes into that?
There's a little bit more to it. I'd say that obviously speed is a huge factor. I would say it's not only how fast do you run, but it's speed between the ears, and it's a willingness to go get it done, and it's mentality as much as it is speed.
Yeah. I was asked a couple times if you guys would continue. Urban wanted to kick off to the corner, trying to pursue and make some plays happen there. The rules changed. What do you guys envision with the kickoff approach there?
Well, I mentioned before, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, we want to add some wrinkles here and there when we can. But at the same time, we've got unbelievable players. We've got a really good kicker coming back. So, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel there. We just want them to play fast. That'll be the biggest thing is just get our guys running really fast, playing extremely hard, and go front the returner up.
How has the rule changed with the fair catch now that there's been a year or so with that? How has that changed the thinking in that part of the game?
Kickoff or kick return?
Well, either one.
From a kickoff standpoint, we're just going to go cover them. We're going to kick them and we're going to go cover them. And if they choose to fair catch it, so be it. From a kickoff return standpoint, again, we'll be smart about what we do, but we're going to be explosive, or we're going to strive to be anyway. And, I think we've got the returners to do that. And as importantly as that, I know we've got guys that are willing to go block and sell out for their team, even in a less glorious position. I know our guys will go do that. We're going to get them techniqued up. I know our guys are going to play hard. That's the culture of our program. We're 4 to 6, A to B in everything we do, and that doesn't change on special teams.
Are you guys using the two-man wedge at all before? Do you have to adjust to that rule?
On kickoff return? I've done it in the past, yeah, but it's really not a tough adjustment. We'll just be smart about how we space those guys out.
You have to make sure that you kind of, especially early on, that you reinforce, because obviously they could drift together accidentally.
Well, we just have to be really smart about how we build it as coaches and make sure that we don't put those guys in that position. If that happens, that's my fault.
I know you've talked before about how special teams is just football and it's kind of a way for guys to learn how to play. Are there any young guys you're really seeing stepping up already in camp on special teams?
Ton of guys. And really it go all the way back to the spring. Like the first guy that comes to mind is Marcus Crowley. I mean, it's really cool just to watch his progression as he got here in the spring and just wasn't quite sure about the technique initially. And then next thing you know, I mean, he looks like an experienced guy. Bryson Shaw's another guy's done really well early on. Craig Young, Cade Stowe. I mean, there's a ton of guys. I could keep going on and on. Our young guys care so much. That's the thing about Ohio State football players. If you don't work hard and care here, you stick out like a sore thumb. It's different than any other place I've ever been.
What are the biggest things you're teaching those young guys in those first few days of practice about how to excel on special teams?
Play hard. Play hard. It's effort and technique. So if we can get the technique right, great, but we're going to start with effort.
Is that a good place to cultivate that? Because, I mean, special teams is a lot of just getting from point A to point
Absolutely.
B. More so than the
Yeah.
other.
That's a great point, and that's what we tell those guys. You know, where offense or defense, there's more nuance. You know, there's a lot more variables. There's more moving parts. Special teams, again, we talk about reducing the game to effort and technique. So, you know, go play as hard as you can, and then if we can get those guys honed in on techniques, which we spend a lot of time, I'd venture to say we spend more time here on technique than probably anywhere else. So if we can get them playing hard and with great technique, they got a chance.
Why do you say that if you don't go hard, you stick out like a sore thumb here more than any place you've been? Why do you think that is?
Because our guys work extremely hard. Why is that? It's the culture of the program. Obviously, Coach Meyer started that. Coach Day has continued that, and obviously, you know, the ace in the hole, kind of the guy behind the scenes, is Coach Marotti. You know, Coach Mick is the best in the business, best I've ever been around. And you know, those guys have established a culture, and then it's bled into our team. And then I know I'm relatively new here, but I know that's been carried over, and really where that started from the coaching staff is continued by and reinforced with our strength and conditioning coaches. But it's really in our team. You know, it's the leaders on our team. It's the older guys that have been in the program, and it's the nature of the kids that we try and recruit as well.
Is that?
Couple more questions.
Yep.
Are there times at some places where you spend a chunk of your time just trying to get kids to go hard?
Yeah, I mean, everywhere, you know, that's the key to the game, right? I mean, you know, we can X and O all day, but if you're not playing hard, you throw it all out. So I've been other places where, you know, that's been a little bit more of a battle. Maybe if you're new to a program or whatever it may be, you've got to really emphasize that. But I remember being here, within the first couple of days I was at workouts. I remember thinking this is the hardest working team I've ever seen.
Is Demario first up for kick return at the moment? Or what's
Well, he may have the first crack at it. I'm not sure. You know, like today he did. He had the first crack at it, but it's camp. That's why we have camp. That's why we got, you know, a month before we play, and we're going to shake through all that stuff and make sure we put the right guys in the right places. But I know he's extremely talented. I was on the wrong end of an explosive return last year with him, and so, you know, I certainly know he's got all those tools.
You talk about Olave at gunner. Is Okuda in the gunner mix still?
Boy, I love Jeff Okuda. You talk about a guy with a mentality that can really run. He's another one. So, yeah, he would for sure be in the mix. But, again, you want to try to make sure you've got a pool of guys there because, you know, it's a long season. It's a battle of attrition, and you've got to make sure that you've got several guys that can get that done for
Can
you.
I pull it back around? Last question, pull it back around. So I was asking at the beginning about, like, hey, maybe why hasn't Ohio State been more explosive in punt return? But at gunner, in covering punt, Ohio State has put its most explosive athletes out
Absolutely.
there all the time, from Devin Smith to Terry McLaurin to Jeffrey Okuda to everything we've seen. That really matters, right?
Absolutely.
Again, I'm saying, why don't you put your 4-3 guys returning punts? And maybe you're saying, watch the athletes we put out there running
That's
down
right.
the field,
Yeah,
tackling.
there's no doubt. We talk about that a ton. I mean, we're punting the ball, almost always punting the ball to the most dynamic or one of the most dynamic players on that particular team. So we better have dynamic guys to go get them on the ground.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.